At my grandson's birthday dinner, his wife raised her glass to toast. But instead of celebrating, she turned to the room and introduced me as the shrew who ruined the family. The room fell into an icy silence, and all I could do was smile. Because if she thought that was cruel, she had no idea what I had in store for her. If you've ever been disrespected by someone younger who has no clue what you've endured, this story is for you. Buckle in for one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll hear today, because sometimes karma just needs a little help. Let me tell you something about growing old. You don't become invisible overnight. No, it's slow, subtle. First, people stop asking for your opinion. Then they stop asking for your help. Then one day, you're sitting at your grandson's birthday party, and his wife calls you a shrew, and nobody stands up for you. But let me back up. Because if you're going to understand how I got my revenge, you need to know what really happened. My name is Eleanor. I'm 73 years old. Widow. Former school principal. Fierce believer in family and respect. I spent my entire life raising 3 children. 2 boys, 1 girl. My husband passed 10 years ago, and since then, I've done everything I can to stay close to my family. Sunday dinners, Christmas cookies, babysitting, the works. My middle son, Harold, has always been the golden child. Charismatic, funny, the kind of man who walks into a room and everyone smiles. But charming doesn't mean kind. He married late, at 43, to a woman 15 years younger than him. Her name is Brandi. Yes, with an I. Let's just say Brandi always thought of herself as the main character. She's the type who refers to herself as a girl boss on Instagram, posts daily selfies with inspirational quotes, and uses her followers as validation for whatever petty nonsense she's stirring up that week. When Brandi came into the picture, things changed quickly. She was always sweet in public, but behind closed doors, she began pulling the strings. Little things at first. She'd forget to include me in family group chats. Suddenly, I wasn't invited to Sunday brunches anymore. I brushed it off. I thought maybe they just needed space. But I had no idea how deep her manipulation ran. Harold, under her spell, started making excuses. You know how busy we are, he'd say. Or, Brandi just wants a little privacy. Then came the worst part. My grandson, Joshua, the light of my life, started pulling away too. Joshua was Brandi's stepson, but she treated him like her personal legacy project. She dressed him, spoke for him, managed every part of his life like a stage mom prepping a star. And every time I tried to bond with him, I could feel her pulling the strings tighter. When Joshua turned 12, they hosted a big birthday dinner. I wasn't even told until 2 days before. And even then, it was Brandi who called, like she was doing me a favor. I arrived with a handmade scrapbook for Joshua. Pages filled with his baby photos, little notes from his grandfather, pressed flowers from his first garden. I spent 2 weeks making it. The restaurant was flashy, one of those modern places where everything's plated like an art piece and the waiters wear bow ties and judgmental expressions. I sat at the far end of the table. They placed me between 2 toddlers from Brandi's side of the family. I didn't complain. I just smiled and made polite conversation. Then the toast. Brandi stood up, glass in hand, swaying slightly in her heels. We're so grateful to everyone who came, especially the real family who's always been there for us. She looked at me. Then she laughed. A calculated, condescending laugh. And let's not forget dear Eleanor, the shrew who nearly ruined the family, but we forgave her anyway. There was silence. Absolute, breath-stopping silence. I saw Harold shift uncomfortably, but say nothing. Joshua stared down at his plate. No one defended me, not even my daughter. My face felt like it was burning. My chest tight. I wanted to cry, but I didn't. I looked Brandi right in the eye. And I smiled. Because that moment, that was the final straw. And I don't do quiet revenge. I do thorough. I didn't sleep that night. Not a wink. My mind replayed every second of that dinner. Every silence. Every averted gaze. Every clink of a glass instead of a word in my defense. But more than anything, Brandi's smug little smile as she sat back down, her job done. She didn't just insult me. She rewrote my story right in front of my family. She painted me as the villain, and they believed it, because silence is complicity. But here's what they forgot. I wasn't always an old lady sipping chamomile tea. I was a principal who ran the toughest school in the district for 32 years. I de-escalated riots, handled parent brawls, and once tackled a teenager to the ground when he brought a weapon to school. I was respected. I was feared. And I was fair. They forgot that Eleanor May Campbell does not take disrespect lying down. So, I decided it was time to dig. To understand where this venom started. What had Brandi twisted around her fingers so tightly that even my own children wouldn't look me in the eye. And I found it, buried in my daughter's voicemail inbox from 3 years ago. It turns out Brandi had planted the seeds early. Right after she married Harold, she began telling people that I had tried to sabotage their wedding. She told them I refused to attend, a lie. I was sick with pneumonia and begged them to reschedule, that I criticized her dress, also false. I complimented her lace work, and worst of all, that I once called her a gold digger. That one hurt. You see, I had my reservations about Brandi in the beginning. Not because of her age. Not because she was flashy. But because of her eyes. There's a look people get when they see others as tools. It's subtle. A flicker. A delay in warmth when someone speaks to someone they see as irrelevant. Brandi had that look the first time she met my late husband. And I never forgot it. But I never acted on that suspicion. I welcomed her. Gave her a family heirloom necklace at her bridal shower. Sat next to her at every Thanksgiving. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. And she used that kindness to paint me as a bitter, controlling matriarch to gain sympathy and, more importantly, control. Control of Harold. Control of the family narrative. Control of Joshua. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about me being a shrew. It was about power. I was the only one she couldn't manipulate. So she turned me into the villain, so she could wear the crown without competition. And I was going to take it all back. I didn't want revenge just for the sake of pride. I wanted clarity. I wanted my grandson to know who I really was. I wanted my own children to remember. And most of all, I wanted Brandi to feel the sting of being exposed. So I began collecting emails, texts, social media posts, old voicemails, even a video clip from Thanksgiving 2 years ago where Brandi accidentally spilled wine on me and laughed about it to her friends. I created a file, a digital folder titled The Real Brandi. But that wasn't enough. I needed a platform, a way to tell the truth without seeming vindictive. So I decided to write a memoir. Not a public one yet. Just a short family memoir titled Roots and Reverence, a family history. I included family photos, old recipes, and scanned letters from my late husband. And in Chapter 9, I told the story of what happened at Joshua's birthday dinner. Word for word. I also included a side-by-side comparison of Brandi's social media, facts, and real family events. Not in an accusatory tone, just context. The last page was a handwritten note addressed to Joshua. Truth is a lot like a garden, my sweet boy. If you ignore it, the weeds take over. But if you care for it, even the damaged parts can bloom again. I printed 10 hardcover copies through a local press. Bound in leather. Gilded edges. Looked like a gift. I waited for the perfect moment. Joshua's middle school graduation was 2 weeks later. A small backyard gathering. Everyone came, including Brandi. Draped in a designer dress, she tagged 5 brands in online. I handed each family member a gift bag. Inside, the book. Brandi laughed when she opened it. Oh wow, a scrapbook? How adorable. But as she flipped the pages, her smile froze. She got to Chapter 9. Her fingers stopped moving. Her jaw clenched. My daughter read it. My youngest son read it. Harold read it twice. No one said a word for a long time. But I could feel the air shift. Brandi left early. 3 days later, my daughter called me sobbing. Mom, I didn't know. I believed her. I'm so sorry. Then, Harold. I messed up, Ma. I let her convince me you were cruel. I'm sorry. Even Joshua called. Grandma, I love the book. I didn't know all that stuff. Can we hang out soon? Brandi, for her part, went nuclear. She accused me of slander. Threatened legal action. I calmly told her. Everything in that book is documented. I have copies, dates, records, screenshots. You wanted a story, Brandi. I just gave you the real one. She never filed anything. Instead, she started slowly disappearing from family events. Her control slipping. It didn't take long. Without the glue of manipulation, Harold began pulling back. Eventually, they separated. Not because I wanted it, but because truth has a way of breaking down fragile facades. Brandi's Instagram went from couple photos and family brunches to vague inspirational quotes and passive-aggressive stories. I, on the other hand, got Sunday dinner invites again. Joshua comes by every Saturday now. We plant tulips together. He's even started asking about his grandfather, something he never did when Brandi was around. And me? I sleep like a baby. Because when someone tries to bury you with lies, the best revenge is letting the truth do the digging. I never wanted to destroy anyone. I only ever wanted to be seen clearly, to be remembered honestly. If Brandi had chosen kindness, she would have had a loyal family behind her. Instead, she chose power through lies, and in the end, lost everything. My story isn't about bitterness. It's about boundaries, about standing your ground even when your knees shake, and about showing the next generation that silence in the face of cruelty isn't grace, it's surrender. But there's more to healing than just being proven right. In the months that followed, something remarkable happened. My family didn't just re-accept me. They began to relearn me. My daughter asked me to come to her book club. Harold started calling just to talk. Joshua and I started working on a digital archive of our family history, scanning old photos and uploading them to a shared cloud drive. They didn't treat me like a symbol anymore. They treated me like a person, with history, with flaws, with wisdom. Brandi faded, as all facades eventually do. She tried once more to start drama on Facebook, claiming I was manipulating the family. But this time, no one responded, not even a like. Her power had always depended on division. And now we were whole. My tulip garden grew. My Saturdays were full. Laughter returned to our table, not in spite of the truth, but because of it. We don't speak of Brandi much anymore. Not out of malice. Just peace. And peace, I've learned, isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of understanding. The kind that takes time. The kind you earn with patience, love, and sometimes a little fire. If you've been wronged, truly wronged, don't rush to rage. Gather your roots. Tell your story. Plant it where the lies once stood. Because one day, just like a tulip in spring, the truth will rise. And it will be beautiful,